Dear parent, I'm Michael Hawton. I'm a registered psychologist with over 30 years experience. I've been working in the area of child and family for most of that time. So I'm a former school teacher. Also, my wife and I have had two children who are now fully grown adults. And I'm talking to you today about student absenteeism. Let me start by saying that I'm happy you're here watching this video. It's a terrific demonstration of the love and the care that you have for your child. But as a parent of a child who is just beginning to stop going to school, or who is in a bit of a habit of not going to school, it can be very hard. And you're no doubt caught in a bit of a quandary. If they don't go, they'll miss out on valuable learning and socializing experiences. The other thing is that they're likely to fall behind with their schoolwork. So, you may have already tried to make your child return to school with limited success. Some children and young people react pretty badly or negatively to any proposed return to school, even after a few weeks. And many parents end up relenting or feeling almost mean by insisting that their child go to school. However, being too empathic to your child's distress can also lead to other family problems. Being too empathic to your child's distress has led some parents that I know to losing their jobs or to having big arguments with their partner about the expectation, I suppose, of their child and the need for them to go to school. This kind of split opinion between couples is very common. If you find your family in some distress as to whether or not your child should go to school and then how to make that happen, then this 7-step return to school plan is for you. It's a step-by-step guide which can be used for primary school aged children through to middle high school aged children. Now that said, it can be harder for parents of older teenagers to sustain a plan like this. So if things get a bit rough or a bit difficult, you might need to get some professional help as well. Ask your GP or find a psychologist who can help with student absenteeism. Right, well, if you're working with your spouse on this problem, make sure that you're both watching this 7-step plan. Doing this kind of thing together really matters. Carrying out this plan will be challenging and it will require you to stay strong, but you can do it. Your staying strong will ultimately be in your child's best interests. You should see the results of your efforts, to do what I'm suggesting you do within a few weeks to 1 month. Let's get started. Step 1, get yourself in the right headspace. As I've already alluded to, you need to remember to not get tripped up by your child's anxiety about returning to school. It's so easy for parents to feel that they are being, a little bit too tough or by insisting that their child goes to school. Parents can easily feel that they're almost being a bit mean. It's not unusual for parents to feel that they should give in to their child's protests. By all means, and certainly ask your child a few questions about why they don't want to go to school. And, as you can, let the school know about your child's concerns. If the school needs to take some steps, well, so be it. There may well be a good reason why your child is a bit anxious about returning to school. And it's worth letting the school know and trying to understand some of those reasons and to ask the school for its support. But in general, you should perceive going to school as a normal life challenge, even for children who have special needs. Now I'll repeat that. Going to school with all of its ups and downs is a normal life challenge, and the vast majority of teachers who look after your children while they're at school are there to support your child. So in step 1, remind yourself that you are following this return to school action plan because it's important for your child to have an education and to develop his or her friendship skills as well. You'll need to counter your own feelings of being mean by, some people think they're a mean parent, by challenging your own self-talk. Here are some things that I think you could say to yourself. It might sound strange, I know, But your chatter to yourself in your own mind is really important. Perhaps tell yourself things like this: I know it's in her best interest to go to school. There are social benefits, and also it's important that she not fall behind in her learning. Here's another one. He needs to go to school to stay connected to his friends and to learn how to get along with people outside of the family. Here's a third one. I'm not being mean by helping him to face normal life challenges, even if it's a bit uncomfortable for him. In fact, by giving in to his or her resistance, something known as accommodating, I'm implying to my child that going to school is beyond his ability. Okay, well, there's no getting around this. Getting your child back into the habit of going to school will be hard. So make sure you have the mental bandwidth in your own life currently to do it. And don't choose a period of time when you yourself have a lot going on. Step 2, from the get-go, state what your expectations are. Let your child or your children know that it's your expectation that attending school for 90% of the time is normal. They should attend school every day unless they're really sick. So you might start by explaining this to your child. It's our job to go to our workplaces. It's your job to go to school, unless you're really sick, in which case we can work out what to do then. Having an education is important, and the government expects all parents to send their children to school. Okay, step 3, leave your own emotions at the door. Even though you may be tempted, try not to get into too many arguments with them or nag them about going to school. If they're nervous or anxious about going to school, your frustration with them may backfire. Unfortunately, it's far too easy for children to feed off your distress, which, funnily enough, and I've seen this enough times to know it's right, can have the strange effect of them wanting to stay home to look after you. You'll want to make the return to school project as calm and as non-emotional as possible. Maybe you can remind them every couple of days that going to school is important, but pretty much that's it. The bottom line is no nagging. Step 4, stage their return to school and reward them for each step in the right direction. Work with your spouse, work out how far away your child is from routinely going back to school. If your child is sleeping in till late morning because they've grown used to not getting up and going to bed late, you'll need to start waking your child at the time they would ordinarily be getting up to go to school. Make sure that you have a bedtime routine and are getting enough sleep. That they are. Once you've established the bedtime and early rising routine, think of what needs to happen next. Now, the ultimate goal here, of course, is to see your child back at school and for them to stay full days at school. The place where you will need to start their return to school pathway should be the next meaningful step towards that goal. Because every school refusal situation is a little different, your child will need you to work out the steps on his or her own return to school ladder. Have a look at the following kind of staged plan for getting your child on the pathway to returning to school. For example, after you establish with them the getting up at the appropriate time routine each day, you might practice getting your child dressed, fed, and ready to leave, but they don't actually go to school. Then you might add getting in the car and driving to the school, but not getting out yet. At the same time, you might be helping your child to learn a few body and mind calming techniques. There's 3 of these mentioned in my book, which I will show you shortly. Then you might get your child's class teacher to make contact with your child to express their excitement about your child's return to school. And next, you might organise a buddy for your child to meet up with on their way to school. Finally, you might take your child to school and with a buddy kind of walk in, go straight into a pre-arranged activity that the teacher might help you to organise. Have a plan in place, essentially, for them to get back to school and for them to stay at school for consecutive days. The important thing here is for your child to stay at school for the days and the weeks ahead, even if they're not engaged fully in the learning as such. Step 5, make a clear and definite change at home. Now that your steps for returning to school plan have been set up in your own mind, you've got it kind of organised in your own mind, you'll need to think about the steps you can make at home. In the early part of your return to school plan, make your child's day at home like their days at school. In short, don't make being at home more rewarding than being at school. So here's a few things. A, remove their access to devices, phones and TVs for the days they're at home. Make those things inaccessible. Prepare them a packed lunch, snacks and drinks. C, if you're working from home, don't have conversations with them, nothing they would not have if they were at school. Don't take them on outings to the shops, for example. Get them up from bed at the normal time that they would get up for school. So make sure that they go to bed at the time they would if they were going through a normal school day. And I would suggest you don't let them take their phone to bed because the notifications will keep them awake. Right, the only exception for device use is to do their schoolwork, which should be monitored by you or somebody at home. Okay, overall, staying at home 8:30 to 3:30 needs to be boring in contrast with going to school. As you're probably imagining, this is the most difficult part of your return to school project. Plan how you're going to reduce or remove their access to entertainment, such as Netflix, computer games, and social media, when they choose to stay home. Anything they wouldn't have if they were at school. Step 6, invite supportive others in your family to help. To succeed in helping your child back to school, involve family allies to encourage their return. I'm talking about grandparents, aunts, uncles, school teachers, a school friend, and even close adult friends of your own. Ask them to call your child on their phone or yours, and here's what they can say. Emily, I know that you haven't been going to school lately. That must be tough. You're going to face lots of challenges in life, including going to school. I think you can find your way back to school. I think you've got this. Step 7, maintain their participation in your return to school plan by expressing your belief that your child can do this and by rewarding her or him as she or he makes progress towards returning to school. You can provide encouragement such as, I know you are strong enough to deal with this, or I think you've got this, or I'm really proud of the effort that you're making in going back to school. Even when they get back to a normal routine, talk with your child each day by asking open-ended questions. For example, tell me about something that happened at school today. Try to listen, but don't feel you have to over-empathize with their complaints about school. It's important to acknowledge them, but avoid downward spiraling discussions. Just listen for a few minutes, don't necessarily try to solve their issue, and then express your confidence in their ability to face the normal challenges of going to school. Well, in an overall sense, it's important to have a plan which both of you, parents that is, can agree about. At the end of the day, your return to school plan needs to be achievable and followable. as your child's parents, what you will get from implementing this 7-point plan is a real sense of doing what's in your child's best interests. Below is a summary for your refrigerator door. Okay, to sum up, supporting your child to go back to school can be one of the hardest problems lots of parents will face. This is mainly because school refusal can develop into such an entrenched family pattern that it can be very hard to undo. It's a tough ask for many families, not just yours. If you have tried these 7 steps for 1 month and you're not making progress, they're not going back to school, you might need to seek some professional help. You might wish to take this plan with you to show the health professional and to see if it needs tweaking or adjusting in some way. As I started off saying, your love and your care for your child is very apparent. That's why you're watching this kind of film. But as parents, the love we show our children can involve some discomfort. Think about taking your babies for vaccinations or stopping your child from eating too many chips. They won't like it. Your decision on their behalf won't be liked by them, but you also know it's in their best interests. If you're concerned about your child's level of anxiety, you might consider reading my new book. It's called The Anxiety Coach, or doing my 4-hour online child anxiety course available at parentshop.com.au. Thank you very much for listening and good luck.